We always wait for something outside ourselves to change. A new year, a fresh start, a calendar page that turns and suddenly promises us permission to become happy, as though time itself were the healer of all that has remained unfinished within us. But Carl Jung, with a bluntness that could feel almost ruthless, never believed in such convenient transformations. He said that no amount of external change can substitute for the lack of inner development, which is why 2026 will not magically deliver happiness to you simply because you crossed a threshold from one year into another. Happiness is not a gift the universe hands out to those who wait patiently. It is a state you build from the ruins of everything you have been too afraid to face. So the real question is not, what will 2026 bring to me? The real question is, what part of yourself are you finally willing to stop abandoning? Jung introduced the concept of the shadow as the part of yourself you have disowned, the aspects of your personality you found unacceptable, the anger you were told was inappropriate, the ambition you were taught was selfish, the vulnerability you learned meant weakness. Every time someone in your childhood told you that a part of you was too much or not enough, you took that part and buried it in the dark basement of your psyche. You locked the door and pretended it no longer existed. But the shadow does not disappear simply because you refuse to acknowledge it. It grows stronger in the darkness. It feeds on your denial. Jung said everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. You know this is true because you have seen it in yourself. You snap at your partner over something small, and the intensity of your reaction surprises even you. You feel a burning jealousy when a colleague succeeds, and you hate yourself for feeling it. You procrastinate on work you know is important, then cannot understand why you sabotage yourself. These are not random failures of character. They are the shadow demanding to be seen. The shadow contains not only what you consider negative, but also your unrealized potential. The creativity you suppressed because someone once mocked your attempt. The assertiveness you buried because you were punished for speaking up. The joy you abandoned because showing happiness felt dangerous in a household where emotions were weapons. When you refuse to look at your shadow, you do not become free of it. You become controlled by it. You project it onto others and see in them what you cannot bear to see in yourself. You judge harshly in others the very qualities you have denied in yourself. The person who cannot acknowledge their own cruelty becomes obsessed with the cruelty of others. The person who has buried their need for attention accuses everyone around them of being attention-seeking. You lose energy constantly trying to maintain the image of who you think you should be. You construct a personality that is acceptable, appropriate, inoffensive. But this constructed self is exhausting to maintain because it is not real. It is a mask. And beneath that mask, everything you have denied is screaming to be released. You create patterns in your life that repeat endlessly because the shadow orchestrates them from beneath your awareness. You choose the same type of partner who hurts you in the same way. You sabotage yourself at the moment of success. You feel empty even when you achieve what you thought you wanted. This happens because the real you, the complete you, has not been allowed to live. Jung observed, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The patterns you blame on bad luck or other people are actually the shadow's way of forcing you to finally turn around and look at what you have been running from. And if any moment or memory within you has just stirred slightly while reading this, leave a small mark in the comments below as a way of whispering to yourself, I am ready to see what I have hidden. The first practice is shadow journaling. Every evening for the next 30 days, write down one moment during the day when you had a strong emotional reaction that seemed disproportionate to the situation. Describe what happened and what you felt. Then ask yourself, what part of me did this situation touch that I do not usually allow myself to acknowledge? This practice works because the shadow reveals itself through disproportionate reactions. Where you overreact is where the shadow lives. The second practice is the mirror technique. When you find yourself intensely judging someone else, stop and ask, where in my own life do I exhibit this quality in a way I refuse to admit? You might judge someone for being selfish while you ignore your own subtle manipulations to get what you want. You might condemn someone for being weak while you refuse to see your own avoidance of conflict. This exercise teaches you that your judgments are confessions. The third practice is giving voice to the disowned. Set a timer for 10 minutes and write from the perspective of the part of yourself you have most suppressed. Let your anger write if you have always been the peaceful one. Let your neediness write if you have always been the independent one. Let your ambition write if you have always been the humble one. Do not censor. Do not judge what emerges. This creates a channel for the shadow to express itself safely instead of sabotaging you unconsciously. The fourth practice is daily micro-honesty. Choose one small moment each day to express something true that you would normally hide to maintain your acceptable image. Tell someone you are hurt instead of pretending you are fine. Admit you do not know something instead of pretending competence. Say no to something you do not want to do instead of agreeing out of obligation. These small acts of honesty begin to dismantle the prison you have built around your authentic self. The persona is the mask you wear to navigate the world, the role you play, the identity you present. Jung described it as a kind of mask, designed on the one hand to make a definite impression upon others, and on the other to conceal the true nature of the individual. You developed your persona early in life as a survival mechanism. You learned quickly what behaviors earned approval and what behaviors brought rejection. So you became the good child, the responsible one, the peacemaker, the achiever, the caretaker. You performed the role so well that eventually you forgot you were performing. The mask fused to your face. You go to work and you are the competent professional who never shows weakness. You come home and you are the strong partner who holds everything together. You visit your family and you become again the role you played in childhood, even though you are 40 years old. You shift between these masks so automatically that you do not notice you are doing it. The persona is not inherently bad. You need some degree of social adaptation to function in the world. But the problem comes when you identify completely with the persona and lose touch with who you actually are beneath it. When the mask becomes your entire identity, you become hollow. You look successful on paper but feel empty inside. You check all the boxes of what you are supposed to want but feel no genuine satisfaction. Erich Fromm said, "Man is the only animal for whom his own existence is a problem which he has to solve. The problem you must solve is this: how do I live in the world without losing myself entirely to the roles the world demands I play?" You know the persona has taken over when you cannot remember what you actually want anymore. Someone asks you a simple question about your preferences, and you realize you have no idea. You have spent so long performing what others expect that you have lost access to your own desires. Another sign is exhaustion that sleep does not cure. You are tired in a way that goes deeper than physical fatigue, because maintaining a false self requires enormous energy. Every interaction becomes a performance. Every conversation requires you to monitor yourself carefully to make sure you are saying the right thing, appearing the right way, maintaining the right image. You notice yourself feeling like an imposter, even in your own life. You achieve something you worked hard for, but instead of feeling proud, you feel like a fraud. This happens because the achievement belongs to the persona, not to your true self. Some part of you knows that the person who succeeded is not really you. You find yourself incapable of genuine intimacy. People think they know you, but they know only the version of yourself you have allowed them to see. Your relationships feel shallow even when they look close from the outside. You long for someone to truly see you, but simultaneously work very hard to make sure no one ever does. You experience sudden moments of rage or breakdown that seem to come from nowhere. You have been holding yourself together so tightly that eventually something cracks the emotions you have been suppressing. To maintain your acceptable image explode outward, and you do not recognize yourself in those moments. This is not a breakdown. This is the real you trying desperately to break through. When you are ready, leave a small reflection below to mark that you have begun to recognize where your persona ends and you begin. The first practice is role identification. Write down all the roles you play in your life: daughter, mother, employee, friend, partner. For each role, write down 3 behaviors you perform in that role that do not feel authentic to who you really are. This brings conscious awareness to where you are performing rather than being. The second practice is the permission experiment. Choose one relationship in your life and give yourself permission to show up slightly more authentically for 1 week. If you always play the positive one, allow yourself to share something difficult. If you always play the expert, allow yourself to say, "I don't know." If you always play the strong one, allow yourself to ask for help. Notice what happens. Most often, you will discover that people respond with more warmth to your authenticity than they ever did to your performance. The third practice is the desires audit. Spend 1 week paying attention to every choice you make and asking, am I choosing this because I genuinely want it, or because it maintains an image I have constructed? Do I actually enjoy these social events, or do I attend because the persona I have built is the social one? Do I actually care about this achievement, or do I pursue it because the persona requires success? This practice reveals the gap between who you are and who you pretend to be. The fourth practice is scheduled authenticity. Block out 1 hour per week where you engage in an activity that connects you to yourself beneath all roles and performances. This could be creating something with no intention of showing anyone. It could be moving your body in whatever way feels good rather than what looks good. It could be sitting in nature without your phone. The key is that during this hour you are accountable to no one. No persona is required. You practice simply existing without performing. You have walked with me through half this journey, and that has never been an easy thing. Not everyone has the patience to sit with uncomfortable truths about how they have been living. If you are still here, something inside you has already begun to move. Stay here because the next chapters may hold the very transformation you have been searching for. As with all inner journeys, companionship makes it less lonely. If these reflections resonate with you, a like or a subscription not only helps the channel stay alive, but also reminds me that souls are walking this path alongside us. Stay here because the rest of this story holds even deeper and more beautiful truths waiting for you to open the door. Jung believed that the unconscious is not merely a repository of repressed trauma and unwanted impulses. It is also the source of profound wisdom. He said, "The unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good. Not only dark, but also light. Not only bestial, semi-human, and demonic, but superhuman, spiritual, and, in the classical sense of the word, divine. Your unconscious communicates with you constantly, but you've learned to ignore its voice. It speaks through dreams you dismiss as meaningless, through sudden intuitions you talk yourself out of, through physical sensations in your body you override with logic, through synchronicities you explain away as coincidence. You feel uneasy about a decision, but you ignore the feeling because you cannot rationally justify it. Later, you discover your unconscious was warning you about something your conscious mind had not yet recognized. You dream repeatedly of a certain symbol or situation, but you dismiss it as random neural firing. Yet the dream contains a message about something unresolved in your waking life. The unconscious knows things your conscious mind does not. It perceives patterns you have missed. It holds truths you are not yet ready to acknowledge consciously. Learning to listen to it is not mystical nonsense. It is learning to access the full intelligence of your being, rather than limiting yourself to only what your rational mind can grasp. Viktor Frankl wrote, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. The unconscious operates in that space. It is the voice that speaks before your rational mind constructs its explanations and justifications. The unconscious reveals itself through persistent symbols that appear repeatedly in your life. You keep encountering the same archetype in different forms. The same lesson keeps presenting itself through different people and situations. You read something that stops you cold because it names an experience you thought was only yours. These are not accidents. They are the unconscious trying to get your attention. Your body speaks the language of the unconscious more fluently than your mind. You walk into a room and feel immediate tension, though nothing obvious has occurred. You meet someone and feel an inexplicable sense of recognition or repulsion. You are about to make a decision and your stomach tightens. These physical sensations are information. They are your unconscious responding to things your conscious awareness has not yet processed. Dreams are perhaps the clearest channel through which the unconscious speaks. Not every dream requires deep analysis, but recurring dreams and dreams that stay with you long after waking deserve attention. The unconscious uses dreams to show you what you cannot yet consciously acknowledge. It presents the shadow. It reveals the path you are avoiding. It offers solutions to problems you have been unable to solve with conscious effort alone. Slips of the tongue, forgotten names, lost objects. These seemingly random occurrences often contain meaning. Jung called them symptomatic actions. You forget the name of someone who represents a quality you have disowned. You lose an object that symbolizes something you are not ready to release. These small disruptions are the unconscious breaking through the carefully controlled surface of your conscious life. The first practice is dream recording. Keep a journal beside your bed and write down your dreams immediately upon waking, before your rational mind dismisses them as irrelevant. Do not worry about interpretation initially, simply record. Over time, patterns will emerge, symbols will repeat. The unconscious will see that you are finally listening and will speak more clearly. The second practice is active imagination. Sit quietly and allow an image or symbol from a dream or daydream to come into focus. Instead of analyzing it, engage with it. Ask it questions, allow it to move and change. This is not fantasy or making things up. It is creating a dialogue between your conscious mind and the unconscious material that is trying to emerge. Jung used this technique extensively in his own inner work and found it revealed truths that years of rational analysis could not access. The third practice is body scanning. 3 times per day, stop whatever you are doing and check in with your body. Notice where you are holding tension. Notice where you feel open or constricted. Ask your body, what are you trying to tell me? The body keeps score of everything your mind wants to forget. Learning its language gives you access to unconscious material that has been stored somatically. The fourth practice is synchronicity journaling. When something occurs that feels meaningful or coincidental, write it down. Not to prove anything, but to train yourself to notice. The unconscious communicates through the meaningful coincidences Jung called synchronicity. A name you were just thinking about appears in an unexpected place. A solution to a problem presents itself through a chance conversation. When you begin to notice and honor these moments, they occur more frequently because the unconscious sees that you are paying attention. Individuation is Jung's term for the process of becoming yourself, not the self you have constructed to please others. Not the self you think you should be, but the self you actually are. The unique expression of consciousness that you came here to embody. This is not self-improvement in the conventional sense. You are not trying to become a better version of the persona you have constructed. You are dismantling that entire structure and discovering what remains when you stop performing.
Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Individuation requires you to withdraw your projections, to stop seeing in others what is actually in yourself.
To recognize that the person you hate and the person you idealize both carry parts of your own psyche that you have disowned. When you fall intensely in love, you are often falling in love with your own anima or animus, your own inner feminine or masculine, that you have projected onto another person. When that person inevitably fails to live up to your projection, you feel betrayed. But they were never the source. You were looking at yourself the entire time. You walk into a heated political debate and feel certain you are right and they are wrong. But individuation asks, what is it in me that needs this person to be wrong? What part of my own uncertainty am I defending against by making them the enemy? This does not mean you abandon your values. It means you hold them consciously rather than unconsciously using them to avoid looking at yourself. Individuation demands you embrace paradox. You are both light and dark, strong and vulnerable, selfish and generous. The goal is not to eliminate one side in favor of the other. The goal is to hold the tension of opposites within yourself without needing to split them apart and project one side onto the external world. The path of individuation is not comfortable. There will be moments when you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. You will feel lost. You will doubt whether this work is worth the discomfort. You will be tempted to return to the safety of your old patterns, even though those patterns were suffocating you. There is a stage Jung called the dark night of the soul, where meaning itself seems to dissolve. The structures you built your life upon crumble, and you have not yet discovered what will replace them. This is terrifying. You will feel like you are falling apart. But you are not falling apart. You are falling together. The false structures are collapsing so that something real can finally emerge. You will lose relationships. Some people in your life are attached to the version of you that you have been performing. When you begin to change, When you stop playing the role they have grown comfortable with, they will resist. Some will consciously or unconsciously try to pull you back into the old patterns. This is painful, but it is necessary. Not everyone can walk with you into your becoming. You will also discover joy in places you did not expect. Small moments will feel profound because you are finally present for them. A conversation will touch you deeply because you are no longer hiding behind your persona. You will feel more alive in your grief than you ever did in your pretend happiness, because at least your grief is real. Discomfort is not failure. It is an invitation. When you feel the urge to numb or distract or return to old coping mechanisms, that is the moment you are closest to breakthrough. That is the moment the unconscious is offering you something you need to see. Stay with it. Breathe into it. Let it reveal itself. Rainer Maria Rilke wrote, "Perhaps all the dragons in our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us act just once, with beauty and courage. The parts of yourself you have feared and fled from are not your enemies. They are the lost fragments of your soul waiting to come home." If you do this work, if you walk this path, 2026 will not give you the happiness you imagined. It will give you something far more valuable. It will give you yourself. And when you finally have yourself, happiness ceases to be something you chase. It becomes the natural byproduct of living in alignment with your truth. You will stop waiting for external circumstances to change before you allow yourself to feel okay. You will recognize that the work is always internal. The job, the relationship, the achievement, none of these things can fill the void that was created when you abandon yourself. Only returning to yourself can do that. You will develop what Jung called a moral courage to be who you are, even when it disappoints others. You will make choices that serve your wholeness rather than your image. You will disappoint people, and you will learn to tolerate that disappointment, because you cannot betray yourself one more time. You will find that life becomes simultaneously simpler and more complex. Simpler because you are no longer expending energy
Maintaining false versions of yourself. More complex because you can now hold paradox and nuance rather than needing everything to be black and white, good or bad, right or wrong.
The people who remain in your life will know you in a way no one has before, because you are no longer hiding. The loneliness you felt in a crowded room will begin to dissolve because you are finally present. You will experience intimacy not through perfect compatibility, but through mutual willingness to be seen. This is not a promise of perpetual bliss. You will still suffer. You will still face loss and disappointment and pain, but you will face it as yourself, rather than as the constructed version of yourself that was never real to begin with. And there is a profound freedom in that. There is a deep peace that comes from knowing you are finally living the life that is actually yours. Carl Jung devoted his entire life to understanding the human psyche, and at the end of it, he offered this observation: the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But before you can truly meet another, you must first meet yourself. 2026 will not transform you because the calendar changed. It will transform you because you finally stopped running from what you have always been afraid to see, because you chose to face your shadow rather than let it control you unconsciously, because you removed the mask that was suffocating you, because you learned to listen to the wisdom speaking from beneath your rational mind, because you committed to the long and difficult journey of becoming whole. This work is not easy. No one will congratulate you for it, because most of it happens in silence and in private. There will be no external markers of success for months or even years. You will question whether you are on the right path. You will doubt whether anything is changing. But something is changing. You are changing, not into someone else, into yourself, into the person you were always meant to be before the world taught you to be someone acceptable instead. The year ahead is not a promise, it is a doorway, and you are the only one who can choose to walk through it. Life does not give wholeness to those who merely wish for it. It gives it to those who dare to dismantle everything false they have built and stand naked in the truth of who they actually are.